Oh, I'm full. I've just had lunch. Don't even want my favourite foods. That being said, I have definitely not eaten as much today as I did at the Ultra. And I thought it'd be quite interesting to see how many calories I had through the day to complete a 100-kilometre ultra marathon. I can tell you now it's a lot. I've basically had to go back through all my vlogs, just kind of remind myself of what I had, and thankfully I was quite consistent in terms of what I had for the day. But I wanted to know how many calories it was overall, and I think I've got everything down now, but I've yet to do the calculations. So I thought today's video, let's see how many calories I had in the day and how many calories ultimately you will need to complete an ultra marathon. So let's get on with it. Right, so first things first is how many calories do you think my body would actually need? Now, obviously, this could vary between people because one thing I noticed, I was quite a lot smaller than a lot of people. A lot of the men who were doing it were a lot more muscular, a lot taller, so their calorie needs would be quite different. However, what you would have just seen was a screenshot essentially saying about the sort of calories I would have needed. Now, for doing a 16-hour ultra, basically the calculator that I found online said that I would have burnt around 5,371 calories. So that's what I would have needed because that's what I would have burned. Slightly different to what my watch said. My watch was saying about 4,600, so there's a bit of a discrepancy there. So let's kind of say around 5,000. Now, obviously, when you see food labels as well, you've also got to consider how much your body needs to maintain homeostasis, which essentially is keeping your body temperature at the right sort of 37.5, and just allowing your body to complete those natural functions. So if we add that all up, we're probably talking around 8,000 to 9,000 calories. Now my watch also said it about 78 miles because obviously you walk around the rest stops as well in the day. So I'm going to say anything between 8,500 and 10,000 calories would have been what I needed essentially for the day. Now I'm going to see essentially what I did. So I've basically now broken it down into stages. So what I had before the event and then between the 8 rest stops. I think it's going to be a lot of food. I have to say, I've done a kind of a bit of a look back at my videos to see what I had. And yeah, there's a lot. There's a little couple of guesses because I don't know how much calories would have been in the fruit. But if anyone's seen videos before, I eat a lot of fruit. So it would be a lot of calories. Let's get into it. Pre-breakfast. Now time for some porridge. Got my 2 porridge pots. One's got nuts in. The other's got the biscuits in. All good to go. Okay, so what did I eat then on the morning? So you would have just seen a clip. Essentially, I've written down everything on my bits of paper. So I've got loads of bits of paper here. So that morning, before the event, at 4:30 in the morning, I had 2 porridge pots, 1 fruit and nut mix to add to my porridge, a raspberry and vanilla protein bar, and 1 packet of chocolate nairns biscuits, which are the things I've got here. So you get 5 in a pack. Now, if we have a little look, I've got a calculator up on my tablet. And I'm going to type those in. We're going to work it out. So, for the 2 porridge pots, they were 206 calories for 1 pot. So that's 412. So 412. And then we had 1 fruit and nut mix, which was 222 calories. The protein bar from M&S, so raspberry and vanilla protein bar, was 209 calories. And then the packet of Nairn's biscuits, so these biscuits here, they are 225. So before I'd even turned up at the event, I'd had a total of 1,068 calories. So 1,068 calories before the event. Not too bad. I think that's pretty standard for a breakfast. However, this is now where it's going to get interesting. So the first rest stop, from the start to the first rest stop, was 13k. So what did I eat at rest stop 1? obviously going to be back to front to you. But essentially what I did, I had my backpack on, as you would have seen in the clip. I had butter Mentos in them. I've been a little bit obsessed with them. Now they're 32 calories per mint, and I had 3 of them that morning. So I had 3 before I got to the first rest stop. I had one of my Eat Natural protein bars, which is 204 calories. I had my bottle of fuel, which is 400 calories. And I had 1 tribe flapjack, which were the thing that kind of really kept me going on the day. I had 19 of them, so we're going to have to really work that out. 1 tribe flapjack is 194 calories. So I'm going to type in 96, add 204, add 400, add 194, 894 calories. So at the second or the first rest stop, we had 894 calories. So not too bad. We're essentially just under 2,000 calories so far for about 8 miles. But again, you wanted to keep, one thing I really wanted to do, I wanted to keep on top of my energy levels. And it was always a case of being too full because I wasn't ever running that fast. I thought, let's get myself really full. And yeah, hopefully then I won't have any dips. So the next stop then will be 13 to 25k, and that was the first main rest stop, which I got there around sort of 9:30. So what did I have between that 13k to 25k and when I was at that rest stop? So actually, this is when I first saw my mum and dad. You would have just seen the picture of SpongeBob there as I was coming in. By this stage, I wasn't very hungry. As you can imagine, 25k is, when you've been training, not that far, you know, when you're used to training for sort of longer distances. So what I had 1 packet of Nens. I had 3 more butter Mentos. I was very consistent. This is what's made it quite easy to work out. I always had things that I knew would agree with my stomach and kind of consistent between the stops, even if it is a lot. So yeah, 1 Nens, 3 butter Mentos, 3 tribe flapjacks. I took quite a lot at this rest station because I obviously had one. I had one before, but really liked it. Agreed with my stomach on that sort of after the first rest stop, so I thought I'd take and eat a few more before I got to the next stage. And 2 freddos. There were a lot of dairy milk things. So right, let's go back and let's work out then how many calories that would be. So the pack of Nens again is 225. Add 96 for the butter mints. Add 582 for the 3 tribe flapjacks. So I had 3 of them. And then add 190 for the 2 freddos because they are 95 calories each. That has come up to a total of 1,093. So we will make a note of that. Right, now this is where I started to eat a little bit more because I knew the rest stops were getting bigger. So between that first major rest stop and then the next 2, it was like 17k and 16k, so just around 10, 11 miles. So it's quite a gap. And obviously by the time you've run that, you would have done a marathon up to the next rest stop. So what did I have at the next one? This was my favourite rest stop, by the way. Nick, this is what I want. There you are. These white chocolate stars are the ones. Legs feel fine, but my ankle is starting to hurt. It's not even the ankle actually, it's the top of my, it's the joint between my shin and my foot, it's just all the impact. But that's the marathon done, so yeah, feeling good. Right, so yeah, as you would have just seen from the clip, this was my favourite rest stop, and my favourite food on the day was the pick and mix. It was delicious. Only problem I had after it was I was so full, I couldn't actually run after that, which I needed a bit of a break, because by this stage my foot was hurting a bit. But yeah, this was the sort of stage where I really enjoyed the food, and I just was, even though I wasn't that hungry, everything I was eating was not sitting in my stomach. You know, sometimes you eat a big meal and you're like, can't move. Wasn't like that. It was never like that on the day. It was kind of like, I'm full, but it was just gone after 10-15 minutes. Anyway, I had to pick a mix. Now, obviously, I can't work out the calories. I took as much as I wanted. I'm going to sort of say it's a bit of a guesstimate, 300 calories. I think that sounds about right with the stuff I had. Selection of fruit, I reckon I had about 200 calories worth. I went through pineapple, watermelon that was really heavy. You could lift weights doing all of that. 4 buttermints this time, so 128 calories. That finished them up. I only had 10 on me. 1 banana, which I found an average, just looking on my computer, about 83 calories for a banana. And 4 ginger nuts, so 188 calories. So let's add that up. So we've got 300 for the pick a mix. We've got 200 for the fruit, 128 for the buttermints, 83 for the banana, and then 4 ginger nuts, which add up to 188. And that, I know it's backwards to you and it's blurry, but that number there does say 899. So 899 for that stop. Okay, right, so that's taken me up to the marathon. So the first marathon is done. We're now going to go from 42k to 58k. What did I have before I next saw my mum and dad again? Going to refuel, and yeah, then I'll be good to go. But yeah, feel fine. To be honest, I'm getting different aches and pains at different times. As long as I can keep running, keep plowing, feel mentally strong, even if I don't physically. Let's do it. Okay, so this was kind of the stage where I started to walk a little bit, and I still felt really good. I stayed in my running top, and you would have just seen a picture. That's me eating some grapes. So Mum had got me some grapes by the time I got to that rest stop. Now, of course, I was literally taking the tried flapjacks. I was nicking loads of them, I must admit. And also, someone on Facebook had to go at me because I was taking all the freddos. Bit of a joke, but yeah, I did have quite a lot of freddos on the day. So at this stop, or between the two stops, from 42k to 58k, and when I got to 58k, I had 3 tried flapjacks, which again is 582 calories. I had 1 Nature Valley salted caramel protein bar, which again I've had at home. So again, it was a real thing of have safe food that I know I like, flapjacks and stuff that agree with my stomach. They're 200 calories. I then had 2 freddos, so another 190 calories, which did melt a little bit. And then I'm going to say the grapes that Mum gave me, let's say 50 calories. So in total there, I've had 1,022 calories. So I've got a marathon to go by this stage, another 1,000 calories. I wanted again to keep on top of everything. By this stage again, Mum gave me my new Huel because I'd finished my Huel from earlier. So yeah, by this stage I felt really good. My knee was starting to hurt, but I was still pretty motivated and thought, let's keep going. Right, the next rest stop was between 58k and then 68k would be where I could stop again to refresh. What did I have between that stage? It's quite a lot, as you can guess. My knee is killing me. Yeah, I keep catching it every time I run now. It still hurts a bit walking, but got my popcorn. Just having salt for this one, and yeah, don't want to hang around again. Feel fine other than that. It's just my knee slowing me down, but we'll keep going. Now, this was the point where, as you can see, I'm eating popcorn and stuff, where I realised I was eating flapjacks and stuff, but they weren't really doing a lot. You know, I was still eating them, still important, but I still felt like I was missing something. And I was obviously replenishing my electrolyte drinks and all of that. It was salt. I was losing a lot of salt. And at this stop, it was really good because they had sort of salted popcorn and pretzels and stuff. So at this sort of juncture between the two sort of rest stops and stuff, and when I got to 68k, what did I have? So I had popcorn, pretzels, a Huel, 4 tribe flapjacks again. I was just loving them. I said they're not that big, so you could almost eat them in one bite. Fruit, bacon crisps, never normally have them, but they were so salty they went down a treat. And I had 4 ginger nuts. So again, a little bit of a guesstimate. Popcorn's not high in calories. Again, looking online, 80 calories for some popcorn. So let's say 80 calories for the popcorn, 120 for the pretzels, They were like the pretzel snacks, not the sort of bready ones. Had my Huel, so second bottle of Huel, 400. I had 4 flapjacks, not in one go, obviously between the 10k and at the 10k rest stop, or 68k rest stop. Some fruit, again, I'm going to say about 150. The bacon crisps, which are Smith's, which was the brand, delicious, 120. And then I had another 4 ginger nuts, 188. So I kept, for some reason, 4 was in my mind the whole time. It was always 4 flapjacks, 4 of this, 4 of that. It was just consistency. So I just wanted that consistency because I knew it was working between those stops. So I just kept it going and just increased it. Now, for all of that, that was 1,834, just to show you. 1,834, which is the number up there in the corner. So a lot of calories. Now at this stage I knew there were only a couple of rest stops to go, and this is when my knee was really kicking in, so it was essentially a walking ultra from now. And obviously when you walk you start to think more about food and everything. So right, let's go on to 68 to 81k. What did I have before I saw mum and dad at the final major rest stop? Now, something that was bizarre, I thought, at the time, is obviously at these rest stops, they had the major ones. There were 3 major ones where I saw my mum and dad. They also had proper meals, so you could get a little card, and you go up and you get whatever food you want. Essentially, it'd be burger and chips, pasta, and whatever. But between 68 and 81k, I still hadn't had a proper meal. I just didn't fancy anything too heavy. But obviously, now I knew I was walking, it was going to get to that stage. So I do have a couple of proper meals. But between 68 and 81k, I'm still going for my flapjacks because I really need the salt. The bacon crisps were really important, and I had some more fruit. So it wasn't actually that much at this stage. I think my knee was starting to distract me a little bit. But again, I had to have my 4 flapjacks. So again, every sort of 2 to 3k I was taking them. So 776 for the 4 flapjacks, 120 again for the bacon crisps, and then let's say 150 for the fruit. So that's another 1,046 calories. So again, it's quite consistent, isn't it? And as I said, I wanted to keep that consistency, and it really worked. It really did work. One thing I was noticing as I was getting further along these, the toilets were getting more and more grim, but actually I was fine. For someone who gets a lot of stomach pains, I don't like gels and stuff. So actually, as I said, it was working. I just didn't want to change. Right, so now I'm at the 81 to 88k stage. So this is when I've seen my mum and dad again, and then I've got about 7k before the last push, essentially, to get to the end of the challenge. So what did I have at 81 to 88k? Right, now this stage, mum was saying I need to eat something a bit more proper. And again, I was getting a bit sick of flapjacks by the end of this. Had 19 in total on the day, just in case anyone didn't know. So what did I have then at 81 to 88k? Well, I had a ham and cheese panini. I had 1 banana, 4 ginger nuts, which were always by the coffee, so it's just easy just to pick them up and eat them. 2 freddos, and another 4 tribes, and that was it. After that, I had no more tribes for that last bit. I was sick of them, but I just thought one more push for eating them. Anyway, so ham and cheese panini, doesn't say the calories on their menu. I've looked up a rough one, 450 calories. I think that's quite reasonable. It certainly wasn't a sort of healthy one. It was a bit of a greasy one. 83 calories for a banana, 4 ginger nuts, 188 calories. 2 freddos, 190, and then 4 tribes, 776. Now I did actually take 3 more by the end of it, but I didn't eat them. As I said, they came home with me, and I vowed never to eat them again, and then 2 days later I was eating them. So 1,687 calories for that one. So 1,687. Sorry about that. Right. Now the last 12k, so literally 88k to 100k. You have the big hill of the South Downs at the end, and then that is it essentially. And it was just a case now of survival. This was when my knee was really, really hurting. Fish and chips. No, I like my fish. No sardines, unfortunately, but cod will have to do. Okay, so 88 to 100k. Had my last hill. So again, at the end of the major rest stop, Mum gave me one more, my favourite one, berry. Well, actually, I like them all. I don't even have a favourite, but they're all 400 calories. So 400 calories for my hill. I then had 2 more freddos. Again, I was never sick of chocolate, so that was a good thing. So 2 more freddos, 190. And then when I got to the end, which you would have seen at the end of that clip then, I had some fish and chips. I had quite a lot of fish and chips. Now I'm going to say they were about 850 calories. So that's, up at 880, so 850. And that's saying I would have had 1,440 to finish. Now, funny enough, I didn't want it. Mum was like, you've paid for this, go and have a look, see what there is. And I did come out with some, but I wasn't hungry. But again, I go back to it. This was 11 o'clock at night by the time I got there. None of the food kind of hit my stomach. Really bizarre. Wasn't hungry, but I think where I've done 62 miles, 100k, it just was not touching the sides, essentially. I was sick of food, but I wasn't. I needed that energy still. So it's time to add it all up now. This is the hard bit. Well, it's not. I've got a calculator to help me, haven't I? Okay, just so I don't confuse it, I'm going to sort of break it down. So there were 9 different eating windows, essentially. So the 8 rest stops, and then my breakfast in the hotel before the event. So the first bit, so the pre-breakfast, or pre-event breakfast, I should say, was 1,068. So that's when I had my porridge and stuff. And then 894 was from the start to the first rest stop. So again, probably quite typical. That was kind of the least I had in terms of calories. 1,093 when I first saw Mum and Dad at the first major rest stop, and then 899, which got me to the first marathon. So by the time I'd finished my first marathon, so 42 kilometres, I had a total of 3,954 calories. So I think so far, that sounds about right. If you were doing a marathon and you had about 3,900 calories for the day to get you to the end, I think that'd be all right. Right, let's go on to the next sort of 4 stops. All the calories now are kind of just over 1,000. So 1,022 for that one. I had 1,834. So that's when I was kind of really desperate to after the halfway stage, just to make sure I kept my energy up, because I knew it was still another marathon to go. 1,046, and then 1,687. So by this stage, I've had 5,589 at those 2 stops. So I haven't added the 3,000 from the one a minute ago. I'm going to do that now for this final bit to get my total calories. For my first 4 eating windows, it was 3,954. So that's the pre-event meal and the first 3 rest stops. Then the next 4 rest stops was 5,589. And then from the last rest stop to the finish, I had 1,440. So I need to add 3,954, add 5,589, and 1,440 together, and that would have been roughly the calories I would have had on the day. So 3,954, add 5,589, add 1,440. So that has given me a total of 10,983 calories. I nearly had 11,000 calories to complete a 62-mile Trail Ultra. That's a lot of calories. As I said, I think roughly for myself, I probably would have needed between 8.5 to 10,000. But obviously, something you've got to consider is there's a lot of walking between rest stops. And even though it's a 62-mile ultra, I was zigzagging at the end because I was trying to avoid certain, dips and stuff because my knee was hurting. You got to cross roads. I got lost at one point. I had to run down to the event in the morning or walk down first thing. There's other bits that add up mileage, and I think between 8,500 and 10,000 probably was about right. So to be sort of 1,000 over that, and as I said, I wasn't that hungry. Actually, think overall that sounds about right. 11,000 calories in one day. I have to say, I don't know how much protein that was. My hills were 20 grams protein in itself, 20-gram protein bars. There were 7 grams in the tribe, probably 400 grams of protein that day. But felt great, recovered really, really quickly overall, and said I didn't even look that tired by the end of it. I absolutely loved it. Wasn't worn out. Just as I said, it was a fantastic event. Absolutely loved it. Can't believe 2 weeks has gone by. But again, if anyone is interested in doing something like this, you need to eat a lot. You don't need to train eating that much, but just be used to making sure that you keep yourself, well stocked up. Don't let your sort of hydration drop. Don't let your hunger kick in, because I think then you're always catching up. And you'll probably find you need to go to the toilet a lot over the next few days after, because it's a lot of calories. But anyway, I hope that's put it in perspective. That's the first I've ever worked it out. It took a long time to kind of remember what I've been eating. But as I said, thankfully for me, where I was kind of eating the same thing at every station and taking the same amounts of 4 of everything pretty much, it wasn't too difficult to do. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this one. I hope that's given you a bit of perspective. And yeah, if you like your food, go and do an ultra marathon. I do love my medal. It's going back up on the wall now. Anyway, I'll catch you later.